Do you make a bit of money? Do you do all right for yourself? Probably got a nice little watch, drive a nice little car. There are some philosophers out there that say you're a bad person. Yeah, they might be right. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Think Twice. Today we have like an unbelievable guest, a superstar, not proclaimed just by me. And like all my friends. They're like, oh, you got an episode, who's coming on? And I say, oh, she's even my agent. They're like, who? And I'm like, this one. They're like, oh my God, she's the agent. I say, okay, that's what we're on. Yeah, that's what our show's on, isn't it? But
there's levels now.
Today, I'm Benz.
My name's Sam Teff.
And we have...
Fola Evans-Akingbola.
There we go.
Full name myself.
Lovely. I won't give you too much of an intro. We're going to get straight into it. And the first question is, does surviving within a harmful system make you complicit?
It does not make you complicit, no. I think surviving in a harmful system is just like the situation we've been put in. And I think if you don't have a choice as to whether you participate in that system or not, you can't be held morally responsible.
So what about you?
Yeah, I think I would agree that if I have to pick like yes or no, I'm going to say no.
Yes.
Surviving in a harmful system doesn't make you complicit because there are examples of systems that you don't have a choice whether to be a part of. An obvious one being like a family system.
Yep. Like
kids don't get a choice on what family they're brought into. I think to be complicit, you have to have a certain amount of power in a situation to be complicit. So I was trying to think of an example. It's not exactly a system, but it's a situation, but I think you could like zoom out with it.
Yeah.
So if we imagine like a school, there's a little boy, let's call him Ade.
Yeah.
He gets bullied a lot. He goes into the bathroom and 3 boys follow him in and like beat him up and are bullying him in the bathroom stall. In the stall next door, there's a little boy called Alex who's quite weak, gets bullied as well, and he hears what's happening and he doesn't do anything. He just stays in the bathroom stall and is like just trying to not get involved. If I was Alex's sister or mother, I wouldn't say to Alex when he comes home, like, you were complicit because you didn't try and stop that. I wouldn't say he was complicit because he was surviving in the situation. He knows if he was to get involved, he'd get beaten up too. But slight adjustment, same boy, Ade, goes into the bathrooms. There's no one else in there. 4 boys follow him in. 3 of them do the beating up and bullying. And a 4th guy, let's call him Joe, watches,
and is part of the original...
He's part of the group of friends. He watches, he's not really on it. He watches it happen. If I'm the mother or the sister of that boy, I'd say you were complicit there because you had an element of power in the situation to change it. You had power to be able to say to your friends, oh guys, like let's leave it or something. He knows if he's going to intervene, they're not going to turn around and beat him up. Whereas our little friend Alex would... I'm not saying it's right that Alex was silent in his bathroom stall, but he's not complicit.
I'm struggling to assign moral complicity because they're children. I don't know if that's like something that you thought about, but when the parent goes to the kid, if she was to condemn his action being silent, it would feel harsh because it's a child and he maybe doesn't have the like understanding within himself to overcome the initial fear potentially. And he's obviously just a kid. Like you kind of give kids more leeway, don't you?
But what if your son was the John or the Joe? If the school called you up and was like, your son didn't do any punching or anything, but he's part of the friendship group and was just standing back, you would say you would explain to him, like, this is what complicity means. Like, you could have stopped that because you're friends. So
and instinctually, they would probably know that they could have had some involvement. Right?
Or let's even say if they're 15, they don't have to be like 2.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think that you need to have a certain amount of power in the situation, and that amount of power is going to vary from like that threshold is different in each situation.
I 100% agree. I think it's a very good distinction to make, actually.
Yeah, but what if I were to like switch the question a little bit and say, does thriving within a harmful system make you complicit? Is it still exactly the same?
One of you go first.
Okay, I'll take this one. I think the moment you thrive within a harmful system, my answer is yes, you are complicit. That's my default answer before we get into the specifics of the situation. Okay. Because I think when you consider any situation where we're trying to assign moral complicity, we need to think about how has the harmful system rewarded the person, right?
Yeah.
If they're thriving by making money, for example, the system is rewarding them with financial gain. And I think there's a mechanism by which financial gain is attributed to the actor within the system, right? If you're, say, within a company, the company, their interest is to maximize shareholder value, let's say. If you are someone who does that within the company, you will be rewarded with money. So in a sense, in order to get rewarded and to thrive within that system, you've aligned yourself with the harmful system's interests to do that. And I think in most cases where you thrive, you are doing that in some sense. And that's where the moral complicity for me comes from. You've aligned yourself with the interests of that system to be then rewarded. That's why the system is rewarding you.
And what if the system is not purely harmful or purely great?
Because that's most systems, right?
Which is most systems. In some situations, it's not feasible to totally tap out of the whole system altogether for some people, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it is complicated. It's not black and white. But I still think the reason you are paid in this scenario that I've painted, the reason you are thriving is super important. Like, if, for example, you're a police officer, right? You are thriving.
I'm laughing already.
Yes,
Oh yeah, you have issue with their
100%. I wrote issue with the
PR.
One of the inherent things about the police is that they oppress minorities. It's just something inherent in the police system. So if you are a police officer who rises from constable to sergeant to whatever, you've aligned yourself with that system. And even though in your day-to-day you might be doing good things, and the police themselves do good things for the community, there's an underlying undercurrent of exploitation of minorities that I can't get away from. And I think in that system, if you thrive, you are morally complicit.
Even if that person is trying to get to a certain point in their career where they think they can then effect change.
Are you still complicit?
Now we're talking like some like real deep 10-year double agent like.
I think it happens to people all the time. I think people get into politics because they think like, if I was the Prime Minister, I could actually affect change. I think and then they get there and maybe they realise the reality is different. But I don't think people necessarily are even doing it on like a double agent thing. I think people really think that, well, once I get to a position of power, I can do things differently. And whether they do that or not, is a different matter.
Yeah, this kind of does touch on like one distinction I've not made yet, which is about the phrase morally complicit, right? The phrase to me is, on some levels, a condemnation of what you have done, your action is morally wrong. But I think you can be morally complicit in things without being like an awful person. Like, I think us sitting here in this room, like, we're fairly privileged. There's a level of moral complicity that we have with, say, capitalism. It's not an indictment of who we are. We're not like awful people. But I think we need to recognize that moral complicity and try to enact change to balance the books, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense.
You're basically saying there's a little grey area.
There's a grey area there, and I think everyone actually, especially in the West, and I'll come on to like an essay that someone wrote that I think you guys will find fascinating. But I think everyone has a level of moral complicity in something. Like, the world is complicated. We're involved in all these different systems that we don't choose to be.
I think there's a difference between moral complicity and acknowledging that we all have an element of individual power and collective power that we can utilize to effect change.
Yeah.
But I think that's different to moral complicity.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think if we were to say, no, you're not morally complicit, you also wouldn't want people to take that as like, well, I'm not morally complicit, so I don't have to do anything.
Correct.
And I think you can still...
I think you're only complicit if you don't critique it. So, like, if you're part of a system that does harmful things, but you don't speak about or you don't try and enact change on those harmful things, then you're complicit. But I feel you are relieved at that complicity once you're critiquing and you're trying to enact change.
Yeah, I think I would like make a slight distinction between critiquing and actually doing something. I think talking about it is, it's kind of easy. It's not that, there's not that much like,
I don't know if
cost
it
to
is
you
when you're in that system. Like, for example, say you're in the acting industry and someone you've worked with has done something, and you have to actually talk about that. I don't think that's easy to do. And similarly, even yourself, like if you're at work and someone in the company above you has done something, it's not easy to critique their behavior. So I think the moment that you do, you're no longer complicit. You're obviously, I think at that moment, you're now surviving in the system.
Yes.
You're surviving to an extent. And you're no longer complicit.
I do take that.
What do you think of people, I can't think of an example of a system for this, but maybe you can, but what do you think of if people tap out? So like the difference between being in a system, surviving in it or thriving in it or trying to critique it versus being like removing people that like, well, I'm going to move to another country, disengage, but you still know that it's a harmful system harming people over here, but you're choosing to disengage. Is that also complicit or is that different?
Yeah.
Because they could say, well, but I'm not actually, I'm not taking part. I'm not taking part anyway.
Yeah. I think not taking part and just completely removing yourself, that could be acceptable.
No, I think that's complicit.
You've moved away from the system.
You really don't like that one?
Yeah. Because like it harms somebody and you know it harms somebody and you've then decided to just disengage. Like other people don't know it harms somebody, but you know. And
because you have the the privilege to disengage. Right.
So I just, 100%, like 100% that's complicity.
Yeah,
I think you see it in the issues that we have today. There are things that go on in the world that don't affect me day to day, like at all.
Yeah.
But if we stay quiet on those things, we are complicit in them happening, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, especially if you're quiet, let's say in this country, you think the government's doing something wrong and you're quiet about your own government, that is definitely complicit. You're complicit in what's happening because you've chosen not to act, not to speak.
But I think what it is, it's this word complicit. It has such negative connotation. And I think if which is fine, it makes it an interesting question. But I think people have been kind of beaten down to the point where they don't feel like they, like say what you're saying of being in this country or any system where you don't feel it's going well, they don't feel like they have any agency or can do anything.
So I wanna touch on like individual culpability, right? Like at what point are you culpable and morally complicit? So Peter Singer, he's like an Australian philosopher. He wrote this essay called Famine, Affluence and Morality, right? He wrote it in, I believe, 1972. So a long time ago, but he's still alive. He still talks about it all the time. In this essay, he lays out why he thinks everyone who lives in the Western world is morally complicit with human suffering, right? And he makes like 3 points. It's a very short paper. You could read it in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
He says human suffering is bad, right? Point 1. Point 2, if you have the power, and this touches on what you were talking about earlier about if you've got the power to make change. If you've got the power to change something bad and you choose not to do that when it's of no moral cost to you, that is also bad. Yes. You've got the power to change something, you choose not to, that's bad. If you in the West are doing nothing to alleviate human suffering in the rest of the world, in the global South, you are morally complicit in that human suffering. Those are the 3 points he makes in that paper. And he talks about very commonly used rebuttals to that argument.
Okay.
One of them is proximity. People say, if I can't see it and it's not next to me, how can I be expected to do something about it?
Yeah.
But his argument is, using modern technology, you get to see what's happening across the world. So you can't say you don't know what's happening. And you also have the means, by sending money to those places, to actually do something. It's not like you need to be there to do something. You can send money, you can do stuff to help people in the global South. And this paper rocked philosophy. It rocked moral ethics. Like, people were like, wait, so you're saying I'm bad? Yeah, I'm a bad breed, basically.
But he's not saying that. He's just saying we have to own that we can affect change.
But he does take it that far. He says you are morally complicit. You're a bad person.
If you don't do something.
Yes.
It's not even that.
We feel like we're singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even necessarily. I think I would mostly agree. I think, and this is probably a separate conversation, so there's no point going too far down it. Yeah. I slightly get my back up about it having to be like West versus global South. Like this idea that like we're all fine over here in the West, and it's those melanin rich folk down there that need our help. Like I feel like he could also just talk about like, oh, your people 2 miles away that are struggling and home. Like that there's just, and also there's people in the global South that are like crazy powerful and rich.
Yeah.
And so I definitely have like, I feel slightly prickly about this idea that it's the West of the moral and powerful and everything's great for us. And we need to help everyone else in the world because they're all struggling.
Yeah, he's actually from a brand of philosophy called utilitarianism.
Okay.
And utilitarianism is about maximizing the most amount of good for the most amount of people. That philosophy kind of leads you down the road of finding the person who's suffering the most, right? And trying to impact change the most with the least amount of money, right? So he's from that brand of philosophy. He's also a white man who lives in Australia. You know what I mean? There's a reason why like that his paper takes that turn. But I find it fascinating. I think he's got a very, very solid point. And people have tried to sort of find holes in his logic. And it's bulletproof to me. It's actually bulletproof. Like, and you know, he's someone who talks the talk and he walks the walk.
Right.
Like he's someone who's donated 20% of all of his earnings for his entire lifetime to global causes. And he advocates for other people doing the same thing. Frantz Fanon actually talks about the cathartic nature of violence.
I feel like Buddhist philosophy would take a complete opposite stance on that. I think violence, it can be definitely cathartic, but I think you might still be left with the lot.
Next segment. Does true professionalism require challenging authority or obeying it? Which way would you go?
I think professionalism as it is in the world today...
I just need a challenging it or obeying it.
Give me a one-word answer.
Challenging it.
What about you?
Yeah, challenging it.
What do you think?
What
You know what? I flip-flopped. And if I had to choose one, I think it's obeying it.
Why? Why?
I'm really the presenter here in this episode, so I don't really want to have to give my opinion, but because it's different.
No, come on, we need it.
But because I think people are hired for particular roles, and you're not hired to change the vision. You're not hired to sort of change the mission. You're hired to execute. And if I had to like lean away, obviously both are, that's why we ask these questions, but if I had to lean away, I don't want my editor, when we finish this episode, to challenge how we do it, if you understand what I mean. All I want you to do is try and fit it in the mission of how we create the show. And so I would generally lean to obeying it. So like, I have a question for you, in fact.
Okay.
So like, as an actor, when the director says, we're doing it this way, like, would it be professional to challenge that and be like, no, let's change it?
If I was doing the challenging from a place of ego for myself, purely for myself, then that's unprofessional. If I'm doing the challenging from a place of, we're all here to tell a story. Like professionalism is about following a set of standards for a goal for the organization or the company. In that case, we're all trying to shoot this film and tell this story in the best, most authentic way we can. So in which case, if he's saying, I want to do it this way, and I have a perspective of, I think it would be better if we do it this way, it's absolutely professional for me to challenge it in a professional way. Challenging authority doesn't mean you have to be unprofessional. It doesn't mean you're shouting and screaming and jumping off the walls. You can challenge authority in a professional way, I think.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you can challenge authority in a way that doesn't like fuck up what the team is trying to do, for sure. But I still think there's an element of professionalism that it's a bit like, just be obedient, be quiet, and just do the thing that you're here to do. And I think saying that to people or expecting people to do that, it denies like who you are as a person a bit. Like you're a person who's got ideas, you're a person who speaks, who communicates. Like in a meeting, when it's time to be professional, what are we really saying? Okay, be obedient, be quiet, stiff upper lip. Certainly don't be emotional and like act how you would at home, right? Put on a bit of a facade for us so we don't have to deal with like,
your real
follow
humanity.
the person, the real humanity. We just want you as like, we just want you as a drone to like do the thing that you're here to do.
Right.
And I think a lot of modern professionalism, that's how it actually pans out in the workplace. And, I'm not with that.
I think it's a bit of like power and value. Like, so, like you said in the first sort of segment, if you don't have much power, I genuinely think that your job there is to obey. And the more power you have, the more you are meant to challenge authority. So you challenging authority gives value. You're actually doing your job. Does that make sense? But I think when you're like a junior and you're in a new sort of organization, or you could be in that organization for a long time, but if you're a junior, I just don't think you can have 100 cooks in a sense. Like, I don't think you challenging authority is valuable. Could be.
It could be if that junior has a really specific and unique perspective that everyone else in the leadership is missing.
Yeah.
And that it would actually help things be better overall for the company, like, or the organization or the mission or whatever it is.
Yeah, I guess I challenge that though. I challenge like that, you know, the supreme thing is like productivity. Like, I challenge that in itself. Like, why is it that anything that deters from the team's productivity is bad? Like, why is
Totally, I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if you put that at the top and you say this is the most important thing,
yes,
you will deny people's humanity in that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just don't think you need to put that at the very top.
Right. It's a kind of pursuit of productivity and profit above all else.
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
He's changed it. See what I mean when I was telling you earlier? That's not what I said. I didn't say productivity. Like, I didn't ever use that word. Like,
He's putting words in your mouth.
That word. Like, I didn't use that word. We talked about doing like good work, for example. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, doing good work doesn't mean productivity. Like, it means
no, it's not good work. You
mission.
said professionalism.
Yeah, professionalism. That's what we're talking about. But like, what I was saying is, the younger person shouldn't, or the junior person shouldn't speak as much, right? And he's equated that to productivity. And I'm essentially saying, like, I'm just saying it's not about solely productivity. It's about like achieving the mission that you've set out to do. And generally, those with lesser experience have less value to offer, therefore shouldn't challenge authority. That's basically what I'm saying.
But you would want your editor to say something if they were like, hey guys, I actually see a way that you could make this even better. You would want them to say that.
Of course, but that's why I said I'm leaning towards obeying authority rather than like it's definitely that than challenging authority. But like that's why I think if I had to pick one, generally speaking, I'd go, because this is the way I actually thought about it. If everyone obeyed, what would the workplace be like? If everybody challenged authority, what would the workplace be like? And it would be better if everybody obeyed.
No, I think that's too extreme of a way to think about it. I think you have to think, what is professionalism?
You tried to think.
You have to think, what is professionalism? Professionalism is about following a certain set of standards.
Yeah.
And each company or organization or situation is going to define that for themselves. And I think within that set of standards, there should be a sense of like, if you think you can make it better, like, speak up. Yeah. And do it in a professional way, but there's a culture of questioning and making suggestions. Like, if you're in a place where the professional standard is blind obedience, that's not a good workplace to be in.
Of course, but like...
But you're saying blind, like, that everyone obeying, that's blind obedience.
Of course, but I think that would be better than like everybody challenging everything. I just don't think, because you can't be...
Yeah.
That's a cult.
Okay, whatever.
Great argument.
We can't go towards our mission if everybody's challenging everything, but you can if everybody's obeying something. That's how I see it.
I'm going to butcher the reference, but there's a reference about a certain Japanese company and a certain word in Japanese business culture, and I don't know it, but people can Google it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it was about like this ethos of if everyone can make a slight 1% change on the thing that they do, which in itself...
Kaizen.
Is that what it is? It might be, yeah. Like, to be able to want to make a 1% change, you need to be able to look at something and challenge, like, how is this working right now? And everyone's doing that. So actually, a culture of everyone challenging would be better than a culture of everyone obeying. Everyone being like, it works perfectly, we're not going to make any changes. They would never advance.
Nah, I do think we are confusing, like, improvement with obedience. Like, I don't... If I can do something better, like, I do it better, but I'm still obeying.
You have to have a challenging and questioning mind in order to make a change, I think.
Yeah, and I think people do their best work when they're in an environment where they feel like they could do that, whether they do it or not. I guess I'm
not against what you guys are saying.
Yeah, it feels like you are.
I think, Ben, you're in that binary, though, of everyone obeys or everyone challenges. What would you actually like?
Question like that on purpose.
Of course.
So what would be the ideal in your mind?
Okay, this is a way we can do this, yeah? We can put it into percentages, yeah?
Okay, fine.
I would generally say...
I know what he's going to say.
I'd go 50-50.
Oh.
I'd go 50-50.
Thought you were going to say 60-40. 60 obey.
That would probably be better. I'll go 60-40.
Yeah.
I
know my guy.
I'll go 60-40, yeah.
Yeah, I'd go probably 70-30, like... Challenge.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
What did you say, 70-30?
Yeah. Because, Benz, to me, the environment where everyone can challenge, because you don't challenge if you don't actually believe that there's something to challenge, right? Sometimes you go to work, you do your job, and you go home because what you were told to do is the right thing to do.
I'm challenging from a place of servicing the overall mission, not challenging from a place of like, I want this to be different because I want to look good.
That takes discernment, though, that people, generally juniors, don't have.
But you know, when a junior, for example, like a kid says to their parent, like, I want to play out till 10 o'clock, right? They have no discernment there. That's their feeling. Now, do you want the kid to have never said that? Or do you want them to say that and you explain to them why playing out till 10 is not the right thing to do?
But that's about parenting, challenging and obedience, which is different to workplace.
It's different to workplace, but the junior who doesn't
point.
have discernment is kind of the kid in the workplace, right? The young, they might not understand.
Man, like, I maybe because I work in a workplace that has like...
There's no time for that.
There's no time for that.
Yeah,
like, maybe because I work in a workplace where there are 50 squad members alone. Yeah. And then you have like support staff around that, which say 20. So you have like, so say we're saying like 80 people all together, like from lots of different departments, all working to win a competition, right? Mm. If 70% of those 80 were challenging all the time, we don't get nothing done.
But no one's saying challenge all the time. We're saying it is professional. You can be professional and you can challenge. That was your original question, and that's what
I'm not saying you can't. But the question was, does true profession require challenging authority or obeying?
Yes, it requires challenging it. I would much rather hire someone that's going to speak up and push me and challenge me.
So would I.
There you are.
Than someone who's going to be blindly obedient.
So would I.
I'm not sure.
But if you're running a large organisation, I think it's a little bit different. Should you use personal ambition as a way of coping with mistreatment in the workplace?
I don't think you should. Because ultimately...
That's crazy to say, you know, what you just said, really. No. But anyway, sorry, continue. That was crazy.
Oh, wait, what did I say?
You said no, you shouldn't use personal ambition as a way of coping with mistreatment.
No, it's not crazy. I'll explain why.
Okay.
I'll explain why. I think ultimately when you're mistreated in the workplace, what's actually happening is that you're being demeaned, right? And a sense of who you are as a person is being attacked or taken away from you. And I think if you react to that with personal excellence, as in I will excel here, you know, potentially I will show them, or I will be able to be in a position of ascendancy to change the problems that made me feel that way. When you take that route, number one, you don't change the structural problem that caused you to be demeaned. And number two, and really actually more importantly, you don't address the fact you were demeaned. You don't make yourself whole when you go the personal excellence route. And that's my problem with using personal excellence as a response.
But it could be kind of a bit of a trauma response. Exactly. And then therefore if I'm perfect and if I'm... You know what? You saying that, it's making me think of the idea, you know, the kind of Black Excellence hashtag.
Exactly.
Which I completely understand where it's coming from. But I do feel like we're almost now in a time where there's something a little bit unhelpful about it as well, because it creates this idea that if you're not excellent, and it's come from a place of real being in a system of 100%. Being demeaned and not being seen for the amazingness and stories not being told about all the excellence. So I get where it comes from, but I think that's an example of what you're talking about.
I just didn't think I should tell people how to cope with how they're mistreated. Like,
this is a theme on our show. I say something and Ben's like, why are you telling them what to do?
Like if they need to cope with being mistreated, I'm not gonna tell you how you need to cope with it. Like, if
I'm just presenting options.
What? But you only said what are the other options?
I'll let Ben finish that first.
Sorry,
okay. And I actually do think it's like quite character building in a sense. Like, it is quite character building. Like,
what the fuck?
Well, it makes it like I don't think there's actually that much wrong with I don't want to call it a trauma response, but like a response to something negative happening to you for you to like use that as fuel, because what we can't get away from is something negative happening to you, right? Like, so that's always going to happen.
Yeah.
So I then don't see the problem with then using something that's always going to happen for something positive for yourself. I don't see the problem with that.
I 100% get what you're saying, and I agree. You should use it for something positive. What I'm saying is that using personal excellence as the route you take is almost like a false positive.
Personal ambition, you mean?
Yeah, personal ambition. And in the workplace, I guess that means excelling in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
I think excelling in the workplace is a false positive. Because what's happened is something has been taken from you, right? You have been made to feel less than whole, and your self-worth has been attacked. Imagine if someone took a chunk out of you, right? You have to fill the hole.
With money.
But what's your alternative though? If someone experiences mistreatment and you're saying,
They've taken that chunk, what are you feeling?
Don't use personal ambition to deal with that. What are the other options to you for people to do? And sometimes people shrink, I guess. They get the mistreatment happens and they shrink.
Right. It's a bit of a like defense mechanism, so it doesn't happen again. I think there are various ways to go about it. I think on an individual level, if someone mistreats you, you can say something to that person. It's difficult to do in the workplace. I really do understand that. And I've been in a very lucky position where no one's been... actually, at KPMG, it was a corporate environment. I was there for like 7 years. People were like, there were microaggressions. But I said something. I was like, nah, why are you talking to me like that?
Right.
And in the act of doing that, you might not change that person. You probably won't. He'll do it to someone else. He'll do it to you again, maybe.
Yeah.
But you are telling yourself, I'm the type of person who isn't going to stand for that. And you are doing something to mend the hole that has been taken from you.
But why is that like mutually exclusive from personal ambition?
I think the point that you're making is that personal ambition doesn't actually fill that void.
Yeah.
And so...
It can make you feel like you fill the void.
Right.
But until you actually go address the core
So it's not
issue,
like necessary at all. You don't need to actually ever do that.
You could personally excel, but like I don't think you're solving the problem. And I think I see it in people. They're like, through personal excellence at work, I am filling that hole. I'm in the ascendancy here. I've solved the issue. I see it in people. It happens in black people. Like, we know that black person who, gets violated but holds it, especially in like corporate environments, it happens.
Right.
Like Frantz Fanon actually talks about this. He talks about the cathartic nature of violence, right? Now, Frantz Fanon was talking about colonialism. He was like, in Wretched of the Earth, is a book that he wrote. He talks about colonized people using violence as a method to clean themselves. He's like, violence cleanses one's person. Because what it does is it rids you of the inferiority complex that comes from like taking something and not saying anything about it. Because the world beats you down, right? I think in your documentary, you spoke about the story of your hair being drilled into you from a child. Ever since a young girl, you're told something about your hair. And as much as we want to say, oh, it doesn't affect me, like it doesn't tell me who I am. Yeah. Of course it does. It beats you down, it takes those chunks from you. And to me, standing up against even an individual or going to try to structurally change something, it mends you in some way. It heals that inner child that was hurt.
But I think that doesn't have to be, the Frantz Fanon, like violence, I feel like Buddhist philosophy would be the complete, like would take a complete opposite stance on that.
He is critiqued for that stance.
I think violence is not, it can be definitely cathartic, but I think you might still be left with a lot after.
100%, and I didn't actually clarify, I'm not suggesting that we are violent, but I think you have to take a stance. You have to do something to reaffirm your self-worth. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, last year, right, 2024, summer, there were race riots, right? People were like...
and everyone was saying that it's dangerous to come to the UK.
100%, there were race riots. And there was a trend on TikTok where immigrants would say, POV, you're an immigrant and thus telling you to go back home, and the POV is like them in like nurse or doctor overalls or something, or they're a lawyer or something like that. And it's like, there's mistreatment there, and you're using personal excellence, like you are worthy because you're a doctor, and you're using that to fill the hole, instead of addressing the framing of the question. Those people who are race rioting are saying, go back to your country. Instead of addressing the racism there, you're almost playing the game on their terms, and you're accepting that you need to affirm who you are by being excellent.
Oh, I see. You're saying that they're basically saying, like, we're being told go back to our country, but look how great and valuable we are. We have all these skills and stuff like that. Which I think is a fair point and fair argument.
I don't know if it is. I think there's something odd about that argument.
No, I think you're right. I think it just shouldn't be the only. If you're kind of attacking something, if we imagine it as a kind of horrible block of hatred, and you're attacking it from different angles, that's, I think, one angle. And you're saying you've got to do other things to get at the really core issue that's going on.
Well, because I think the difference with what you're saying is they're asking for acceptance from that group now.
Correct.
Right.
But I'm still screaming, fuck you. Like, I'm still screaming, I don't like you. And I can still use it as personal ambition. Like, I don't think you have to be asking for the group to still accept you. I feel like that's where the problem is.
That's why I was confused with the question, because I was kind of like, where's the problem with the personal ambition? But I think I understand what you're saying now. I feel like we were talking about in there of more of a like really individual example of something bad happening to someone. Or Will Smith talks about it, if he was cheated on when he was younger, and decided, I'm going to be the most famous, successful actor in the world because of that, let's say, mistreatment. And I feel like it's fair to say he didn't heal that hole. But like, I don't know, disrespect. Like, I love Will Smith. But
do you see how like he might have thought he was doing that? You have to make that clear. We'll cut that.
No, it's fine. But do you see what I mean? That's what you're talking about, in that it's not ultimately healing the whole of the mistreatment.
It doesn't,
But I think that doesn't mean you shouldn't also have personal ambition. I think, as with most things in life, it's both and. Like, sure, have the personal ambition if you want to have it. Just know that it might not fill the hole, and you're going to have to do some work to also feel emotionally whole after mistreatment. And no matter what CEO, billionaire title you have, that's not going to fill the hole. You're going to have a nice life.
I think it just helps you prove to yourself who you are, I think. It's like, there's not always nuggets of motivation. Like, you can't use capital for motivation. You can't always use, like, achievement for motivation. But sometimes you can use, like, this person said this, I don't believe this is true about me. I can prove it to myself that this is what I'm about. And I think it's valuable in that sense.
I do think, like, if you use it as a tool, you guys are talking about the same thing, right? You know it's not gonna like mend you, but you're just using it as a tool for temporary motivation. 100% get that. I'll say that on a run. Like, I'll get to 4K and I'm trying to tap out. I'm asking myself, like, what? You that guy that quits?
Right,
Do you know what I mean? I'm gaslighting myself.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Push yourself.
I don't think I've got self-esteem issues. Maybe I'll ask my but I'm not. And I, you know what I mean? And if I did, I'd just need to accept that finishing the 5K is not going to mend me. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I think certainly you could use it as a tool for motivation. I do appreciate that. I just like that TikTok trend really broke my heart. Because
of the nurses and
and I'm looking at the comments, and these are viral like posts, and people are like, "You go, girl," like, and I'm thinking, like, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, what if she's not a nurse? What if she's not a doctor?
Yes.
Do you know what that says about that person then?
Yes.
Who's not economically productive?
Yes. This is so tangent, but this is how I feel about, I mean, maybe you guys say these kind of things, but when people say, like, she's a queen, or you're my queen, as if you can only be a queen as a woman to be treated well. There's this idea that, like, excellence, or like you're saying, like, nurse or lawyer, or she's a queen, like, anyone should be able to be treated well, even 100%. If they're not excellent on a lawyer level or nurse level. But also those aren't the only versions of being excellent. People could be...
Like, you just have value being yourself.
Yeah, being yourself.
Being a human. And I think sometimes that gets lost. I guess that's my point.
It's a good point.
It's a fair point.
It's a very fair point. I feel like you would like Gabor Mate. Do you know Gabor Mate?
Yeah.
I feel like you'd like a lot of his work
I've watched
around
a few
trauma.
YouTube clips and
It's really good. And his books are also amazing about the absolute necessity for trauma responses and how they absolutely make sense at the time because they're good for our survival. But they're especially like around childhood and then as you get older, how to look at is that still serving you?
Yeah, and how to break that apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
On to the next segment. After many years of work, you get a major opportunity in your industry. But you know you weren't picked just solely because of your talent. It was partly because you fit what they wanted to show in the world right now. Meanwhile, you've seen others just as good, maybe better, pushed aside because they don't fit the image or because they spoke up. You know if you stay silent, you can keep rising. If you speak, you'll risk being replaced before you even start. Do you take your chance and play the game or call it out and risk losing everything you worked for?
I struggled with this question because there's certain parts of it where I think I know what I would want to say, and then as it develops, I'm like, Like the initial part about the idea of someone getting a job not just because of their talent, I think there's nothing wrong with that. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hire the slightly less talented person because they're a really nice person compared to the dickhead who's really talented. It's the idea that like people are trying to speak up within this situation or system and they're getting like shut down. I feel like I need more context. I need like a fleshed out scenario.
So let's say, for example, I don't know exactly how it works, but a producer watches your documentary and they're like, don't like that.
Yeah.
What's she trying to say about like the girls in the makeup room?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So you're pushed to one side, but your friend in a similar position to you gets the role. She knows that you were pushed aside. How would you feel about her taking that role with that same producer?
I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do, really. Like,
You wouldn't feel no type of way about that?
No, of course. Like, if I explicitly knew that they didn't want to work with me because I wanted to speak about hair equality on set, that was my choice to do that. That was my choice to speak about that. And if someone else wants to take that job, I'd be fine with that.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
You're like a fairly close friend who you spoke to when you got rejected and like...
So I called them and they're like, I didn't get this role because they think I'm too much of a like stir, I stir shit up.
You stirred the pot a little bit and then...
Not obedient enough.
And then... and then a month later...
I would say,
you and
I'd say take the job. I'd say take the job.
Really?
Yeah, I'd say take the job. Because
you're a better person
because
than
I
me.
think everyone not taking the job doesn't change the situation about hair on set. I know that's a very specific example, but I think it doesn't take. I think there are situations where like
you'd want her to call it out.
Yeah, I'd want her to call it out for sure.
I just think you could take the job and still call it out.
That was like us, like you would want me to call it out. You wouldn't want me to take the job.
If I'd made a whole documentary about this issue, I'd spoken at length about this issue and how it's hurt me, and you just took it. That's mad, bro.
Thing is, though, I think we've got to think
That's
of another
mad,
but we've got to think of another example because the issue of hair equality on set is like a system-wide thing. So I don't feel like any one particular job is gonna.
No, but the needle has to move at some point, right?
Yeah, but I think that needle doesn't get moved by people not taking jobs. I think that needle gets moved by a whole bunch of stuff in which you can watch the documentary on Sky. Documentaries are Now TV.
Now TV, yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's a separate thing. But I think, I feel like this goes back to our other question about surviving and thriving in a certain situation, because I think one could take the stance that you could take the job and affect change, and that might be okay.
As in, like, get in and try and affect change from the inside.
Yeah. I think that's a legitimate option. I know some people don't think that's possible and they think you have to burn a situation down and rebuild. But I do think change can also be created from the inside.
But I think if you're saying it's a systemic problem, surely you have to burn down the system, like you said. It's systemic, like it's not...
It means revolution.
You took...
Revolution.
You take that white man who's a producer, you take him out, you put another one in, it's the same thing.
So what would you say to this then, this scenario?
What would you say, Bent?
You got to call it out, man. Just because I thought you would actually say you got to call it out. Let me not lie.
But I'm not saying I wouldn't say call it out. I'm not saying I wouldn't say call it out. I'm very much like a. It depends on the situation. Like that, I think you can still call it out and take the job. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's a valid course of action.
That's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I think that's
take the job and
my
call it out,
position. Yeah.
I'd have to. Like I would struggle. I struggle to participate properly if I didn't call it out. If I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
But I'd take your money too. Like no problem with that. What would you do, Tim?
I think for the scenario, Benz, I'm tempted to take the middle road. I like to go and take the opportunity, but speak out about it.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to the question one, like, can you exist within the system, but also change it? And what does that mean about your moral complicity with that system?
Yeah.
And I think if you can actually genuinely affect change from the inside, there are certain scenarios and certain systems, like I said, the police. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me no Fed is enacting positive social change. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to hear it.
Really? You think that's not possible? It must be. It must be, because there's people in there who really think that they are in it to impact the community and protect and serve.
They are wrong.
Well, you're essentially saying they do more harm than good. Yes. Even if they do those things, they do more harm than good by being 100%. Part of the police.
Okay.
But I do think that, in this scenario, I think she can impact change.
I
and if
agree.
she can't, she shouldn't take it.
Then, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's what I think that's where I am.
I'd go as far to say, even if she can't, as long as she does it.
Run it up.
Yeah, as long as she challenges it, that's good enough. You can't always guarantee that. You're only a small person. But what you can do yourself and what you can control is to critique and to challenge this. And if you do your part, whether you genuinely change it or not, that's another problem. But you've done your part of it.
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you.
Take care. See you soon.
See you next week. No rush whatsoever. Let me get my notes up.
Should I go cracking?
Yeah, let's go.
Go on.
Should we just do it?
It's all right. I know you're thinking about my time. It's okay. Go on.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Ask it.
Yeah.
Should we get rid of him?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you do it before they stop moving? I enjoyed that a lot.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, that was good.
I could talk to you guys for hours.